She wasn't lost. She was just buried beneath the roles she was told to play. And now she remembers who she is. Have you ever felt like you're searching for something but you don't know what? Like there's a part of you, wild, wise, powerful, that's been silenced. We've heard of the hero's journey, slaying dragons, conquering demons, returning victorious. But what if I told you the journey isn't just for men? Carl Jung didn't just explore the human psyche, he uncovered a map to our deepest transformation. And today, we'll decode the heroine's journey, the rise of the wild woman archetype, and why now, more than ever, it's your time to awaken. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." For many women, that fate has been written by others, from fathers to lovers, religions to media. Not by soul, not by instinct, not by truth. But Jung believed we all carry ancient blueprints within us, archetypes, psychological patterns that shape how we live, feel, and express. These archetypes are like inner characters in the play of your life. And if you're a woman, some of the most powerful ones have been buried. In his work, Jung identified universal archetypes like the mother, the maiden, the queen, the crone, and even the witch. But one, more primal than the rest, stands at the edge of civilization. The wild woman. She's not polished, she's not proper, she's not polite. She is intuition, creativity, rage, love, and soul fire all at once. But here's the tragedy. Most women are taught to silence her, to be small, to serve others, to smile when they want to scream, to nurture even when their own soul is starving. Over time, these archetypes become distorted. The maiden becomes naive, the queen becomes cold, the witch becomes wicked, and the wild woman? She vanishes entirely. Jung called this psychic imbalance, a split in the soul. And when women live disconnected from these parts of themselves, they feel hollow. Like something is missing, but they can't name what. They become performers in someone else's play, wearing masks, living a life that looks perfect from the outside, but inside feels numb. This isn't weakness. It's what happens when a society suppresses the sacred feminine for generations. When power is seen only in masculine terms, logic over feeling, action over intuition, order over chaos. But chaos is not evil. Emotion is not weakness. The feminine is not less. Jung knew that healing begins when we remember these truths. When women begin the journey not of perfection, but of wholeness, to reclaim the lost feminine is not to destroy the masculine, it is to bring balance. It is to reawaken every part of the inner woman, the nurturer, the lover, the warrior, the healer, the shadow, and the light. And that journey is not easy, but it is sacred, and it starts when you begin to question the roles you've been told to play. When we think of a hero, we imagine swords, monsters, wars, and glory. That's the classic hero's journey, the masculine myth of leaving home, defeating enemies, and returning with a prize. But what about the woman's journey? Carl Jung opened the door to a deeper, quieter, more mystical path, one not always seen by the outer world. A journey not of conquering others, but of remembering the self. This is the heroine's journey. It doesn't begin with a quest. It begins with a whisper, a restlessness, a sense that something isn't right, even if everything looks perfect. She's been the good girl, the obedient daughter, the pleasing partner, the selfless mother. She's done everything she was told would make her worthy, but something is missing. And that's where her journey begins. Not with a sword, but with a crack in the mask. The first stage is separation. She begins to break away from who the world told her to be. Sometimes this looks like burnout, sometimes a breakup, sometimes just a quiet sadness she can no longer ignore. Next comes the descent into the darkness, into the shadow. She meets her wounds, her rage, her grief. This isn't weakness, it's initiation. She begins to see how much of her life was built on fear, approval, and survival. In this dark night of the soul, she meets what Jung called the shadow self, the hidden parts she was taught to deny. And through this meeting, something ancient awakens the wild woman. The inner wise one, the soul voice that had been silenced, then comes the awakening. She stops pretending. She stops pleasing. She begins to create, speak, move love, not from duty, but from truth. But this isn't the end. The final step is the return. She comes back to the world, not to fit in, but to embody all that she's become. She becomes a mirror for others, a reminder of what it means to live whole. This is not a path of rebellion. It is a path of remembrance. Carl Jung called this process individuation, becoming the person your soul came here to be. Not someone else's daughter, not someone's ideal, but your truest self. The heroine's journey is not loud. It is sacred. It is cyclical. It is the unfolding of the feminine soul. And if you feel called to this path, you're not alone. You're remembering the wild truth of who you are. She doesn't wear a crown. She doesn't ask for permission. She doesn't follow the rules because she was never meant to live inside a cage. She is the wild woman. She lives in every woman, but not every woman hears her, because the world told her to stay quiet, to stay nice, to be small, soft, and safe. But Jung knew what we suppress doesn't disappear. It waits. It waits in dreams, in breakdowns, in rage, in longing, until one day we crack open and she comes rushing in. Who is she? She is not chaos. She is clarity. She is not danger. She is depth. She is not broken. She is boundless. The wild woman is the voice you ignored when you said yes, but meant non. She's the scream behind your silence, the artist behind your doubt, the fire in your belly you were told to extinguish. Jung didn't name her directly, but he spoke of her through symbols, dreams, and myth. She appears as the archetype of the instinctual feminine, untamed, ancient, free later. Clarissa Pinkola. Estes gave her a name, La Loba, the wolf woman, the one who gathers the bones of the forgotten feminine and sings life back into them. The wild woman is not always beautiful. Sometimes she is ugly, truth. Sometimes she is tears. Sometimes she is walking away from everything that is killing your soul quietly. She is the part of you that remembers. She remembers who you were before the world taught you to shrink. She remembers your hunger to dance, to scream, to feel deeply. She remembers that your worth was never tied to your body, your labor, your likability. And most of all, she remembers that you belong to no one but yourself. To awaken her is to say, I'm done living numb. I'm done apologizing for being too loud, too sensitive, too wild. I'm done living on the surface when my soul was made for the deep. This isn't rebellion, it's reclamation. When you let her rise, you don't become someone else, you become more of who you truly are. Carl Jung believed that the path to wholeness was through the integration of all parts of the self, light and dark, sacred and messy, tender and fierce. The wild woman isn't a fantasy. She's not a trend. She's the missing piece of your soul story. And once you hear her call, you can't unhear it. The question is, will you answer? Why now? Because you've spent years carrying stories that were never yours. Because deep inside, something is stirring. A whisper that refuses to be silenced. A knowing that you were made for more, not more success, more praise, or more perfection, but more truth, more soul, more you. Carl Jung called it the process of individuation, the journey of becoming your true, whole self, and the world needs whole women right now. Not perfect women, not pleasing women, not over-functioning, burnt-out women, but women who remember who they are beneath the programming. We are in the middle of a collective awakening, a deep spiritual unraveling of all that has kept us small, quiet, obedient. You feel it, don't you? That ache in your chest, that restlessness when you're alone, that moment when you look in the mirror and ask, is this it? Is this really all I am? No, you are the beginning of a new lineage. Every time you say no to something that drains you, your ancestors cheer. Every time you rest without guilt, you reclaim sacred ground. Every time you listen to your intuition over the noise, you come home to yourself. This is not just your healing. This is generational healing. This is psychological liberation. This is sacred rebellion. You were taught to fear your wildness, your rage, your softness, your tears. But Jung taught us that what we repress becomes shadow, and what we embrace becomes power. So why now? Because you're ready, not perfect, not fearless, but ready. And why you? Because no one else can walk your path. No one else carries your specific wounds, your dreams, your potential. The world doesn't need another woman who fits in. It needs one who remembers you. You are the one you've been waiting for. Not a guru, not a partner, not a system you. The wild woman inside you isn't gone. She's waiting for the moment when you stop asking for permission and start giving yourself the love, the truth, and the freedom you always deserved. This is your moment, not to escape life, but to finally, truly live it. The hero's journey isn't just for warriors and kings. It's for the woman reclaiming her soul, the girl silenced for being too much. The mother remembering who she was before the world told her to be nice. The woman who dares to run with the wolves. If this speaks to you, don't scroll. Subscribe to Psyche Awakened, where psychology meets the soul, and comment below.